Hi, Scott Limrell and everyone. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth back once a month. How are you, Scott?
Fine. We've done hundreds of these things, so I guess we do them once a month now. And I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I have something to tell you, Scott, because I have a show in Thai. I share my experience and your work, and now Thai people they start reading your books. And then I got feedback from them saying that their life is much easier and they are happier and they start having like experiences, outside like planet Earth, which they are happy and they send me messages, they send me and they let me know all the time. So thank you for your work.
You're welcome. Remember, I also said you had to have the courage to co create this with me because they're contacting you. You're the one who speaks Thai. If I spoke Thai, I wouldn't tell you because it would deprive you of being the linguistics person, the person that translates English and reading English into Thai for the benefit of Thai people. That's your job, that's part of who you are. So that's important that you do that, not me. You know what I mean? It's very important.
Yes.
You get the
And
feedback, right? And you
yes,
grow and you're happier because of it, and it's all good.
and Scott, because those many of them they don't speak English well, they have to
Right.
translate, read. I
Right.
saw the reading the book and translate in the computer, so people who can speak English very well, I would highly recommend to read your book, Scott. It will benefit them.
Well, thank you. There if they had any idea of how many decades and how much money has been spent to get the awareness of this work, which is, my other than selling the books, I don't charge money for these radio shows myself. I don't charge money for guiding the few people I do personally on Earth to go out of their body, go into the upper worlds, explore what they've been denied knowing growing up on this planet, waking that up. No monetary system can be involved in that. You know it. You know now why that's true. You didn't at first, but you do now. So it's a practical issue too. As an individual, as a being running this body on Earth, I can only deal one on one with people here, just a few, and still get anything done in a day. I mean, to work one on one like I do with 10 people right now around the world in private guided journeys beyond Earth, it's not possible for me to work with 100 or 1,000 or 10,000. It's possible that could happen in the near future, like at a conference or something where I could do this with masses of people. But that's a whole nother ball game. And the way these conferences are set up now, where people make tons of money on these, I can't do it that way because I can't charge a lot of money for 10,000 people to meet to go to one of these things. So to do it at no charge, there has to be another source of funds. If the books become New York Times bestsellers, which they're not yet, then we can move in a direction like that. But it's a practical issue. That's why it's nice that the books can be published through Amazon or Ingram Spark, which prints on demand in facilities around the world, so that books can be ordered locally, printed locally, and shipped to them because it's too costly to ship overseas by mail. So Ingram, which I have a contract with, is the company that existed long before Amazon that worked with 70% of the world's publishers to get books in bookstores around the world. And they had print on demand facilities before Jeff Bezos ever thought of it. He just borrowed from what they were doing. So now with Amazon, you can get books like a trade paperback, even a hardback now through Amazon, or an MP3 music album, or an ebook. Ebooks are just downloaded digital books, and trade paperbacks are physical books that have to be printed and shipped to someone. And those have to have print on demand facilities around the world so that when someone orders it in France, they can get it locally. And in Thailand, as you know, there's no Amazon there. So Ingram actually provides books to bookstores. So someone in Thailand orders a book through a bookstore, they'll get it, but it comes from Ingram, not Amazon. A lot of people don't understand this, and they don't have to understand this. They're not publishers, maybe not authors, and most authors don't even understand. I happen to because I had to establish my own publishing company in order to promote this work, because publishers won't do that for new authors unless you're a phenomena around the world, and then they get behind you. It's the way it works in this world. So on a practical level, the reason I'm bringing this out is to give people a better understanding. A lot of people want me to publish the second two books in the Parallel Time Trilogy. The first one that's out there is The Emerald Doorway. The significance of The Emerald Doorway is that it is a journey based on my direct experience exploring the past time track out of this body with other beings from other worlds and really exploring this stuff during this lifetime. And it talks about what happened with key people, key characters that were from other worlds that were human and other very advanced beings that were not human. And it talks about how they had an involvement with our solar system, how a planet called Maldek was blown up from the inside out, which is now an asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter, how Lemuria was destroyed and most of Atlantis at that time, 100,000 years ago, and a little volcanic island remained when new continents rose up from the seafloor, which is the one Edgar Cayce talked about that sunk 35,000 years ago. 65,000 years they had to develop the Atlantis that Edgar Cayce talked about, but it's not the original Atlantis. You have to go further back to see that. So it reveals hidden truth about a galactic alliance of beings that were involved in our solar system then, as they are now. The Sayres Agenda is a book based on direct experience, my own direct experience, about what is changing for the first time in multidimensional history, out among the stars beyond Earth, that is motivating vast organizations of worlds to take more of a hand in Earth's destiny. Because if Earth people are left to their own devices, they would already have destroyed this planet. That's how out of balance people really are here. They don't remember anything. So there are influences on this planet that don't take over governments, that do prevent nuclear war, however. They will not tolerate that. Classified people on this world know that their launch computers will be shut down if they try that. In Russia and in the United States, they know this. So when I speak about the inevitability of disclosure, it is being compelled to come into existence from outside this planet. That's the most I can tell anybody, because otherwise I'm just feeding them data and information. How do they know it's true? So my work, as you know, focuses on assisting fellow beings on Earth who don't remember anything, how to have their own awakening direct experiences so they can know about the stuff I reveal for themselves. That's the whole point. I'm not here to entertain people with books. Although entertainment in the books is the way they are written, they're also designed for feature film development because they can be great channels to help free this planet, practically. So I work with beings from other worlds, master teachers, hundreds of millions of other worlds, and master teachers from parallel and higher dimensions. We do this when we can get out of our body consciously, especially when we put the body to sleep at night in the trance state. We call it sleep, but it's really putting the body on automatic and leaving. And then we run that body on automatic with it breathing and running and heart circulating when it's nobody's home, and it's snoring, and we go on journeys. The problem with people on Earth is that they are terrified in general, subconsciously terrified, to remember who they are, to know their relationship with what they call the Supreme Being, to know what they think this thing is they call Holy Spirit they pray to, which is the energy that's out in space, right outside the atmosphere of this planet. Between planets and moons and suns and stars and galaxies, there is this huge energy out there that they see as black because human eyes can't see high enough into it to see that it's a white golden light that fills the void of space. It is not nuclear, it is not atomic, it is not DNA, it's not atoms, it is the energy behind all that those things float in gravitational wells or fields. And it is that which supports all and maintains it. That is the kind of energy that individual beings like us are made of. What more advanced races out there call the atma. On Earth, people call it soul, with not having an idea of what it is, where it is, or what it looks like. They see their body in a mirror, but they don't know what this thing is they're supposed to be that is not the body. So my work also helps people to awaken, recalling, remembering, recovering that which they were made to forget before they were born on this planet. It means people did not volunteer to come here. No one in their right mind would volunteer to be born on a body on this planet with no memory. That is because tyrants out there interfered over the last 500,000 years in a Cold War since the last Great War took place out in space. There has not been a war out in space since. A lot of people are chatting on the internet because they're fearful that there's a war out there. There is not. If there was, everybody on this earth would be dead and gone already, or dominated, or annihilated and then set free with a few thousand people living. No one comes here and bombs our cities into submission. No one's ever done that. These people on Earth fire laser beams at ships that come here to try to keep us from nuclear war, and they're firing at people who do not retaliate. How stupid can they be if they fire at ships, which is an act of war, that are more advanced by far than us, that don't retaliate? Don't they learn anything from this? Aren't they getting anything from this? They think that's a threat, but who's the threat? People on Earth are the threat. The more advanced races out there that I work with have quarantined this solar system. I'm not joking about this. I don't care who believes it or doesn't believe it. I know it from direct experience. I can tell people about it, and until I help them understand and awaken the knowing certainty in themselves again, it'll all be belief or doubt or fear or speculation or debate or theory or faith, which is fine, except that faith should lead into direct experience so that a person really knows for themselves. If they don't know, they're still operating in fear. Fear of death, whether there's really a heaven when they die, because they won't know till they go there. That's all wrong. They should know that while they're alive on this earth and have the confidence to understand it, because that gets rid of the fear of death. Number one. The first half of the word human is not owned by anybody on this earth, the Hu, H-U. It's not which works off the mental plane. The Hu works and connects to those realities that are above what Buddhists call the void, far beyond it, into the upper realms. The universe is multidimensional in nature. There are 144 parallel dimensions of physical universes stacked on top of each other in just the physical universe alone. And another 144 in what they call the astral plane, and then the causal plane, and then the mental plane, and then the etheric. Then there's this big void, and then there's all these realities beyond it. People on Earth, as unconscious as they are, capable of actually knowing this stuff. Not as a body and brain they grew up with on Earth, no. But the being that's spherical, they call soul, what other beings call atma, that runs this body and makes the heart beat through the pineal gland, the center of the brain. It can know this stuff. The real person can know it. And they need to bring that enlightenment when they're out of their bodies as their true self back to this form and download it, or they're never going to know it. Because they don't get taught it in school growing up or in colleges here. Gurus don't even teach it, most of them anyway on this planet. Don't really wake all that up. So something has to. Part of what is taking place with what we call disclosure, which is authorized through the Pentagon in the United States, primarily. Project Blue Book is part of disclosure. Jay Hynek's astrophysicist's work with Project Blue Book, the Air Force in the 50s, he documented all the things he experienced, which was quite different from what he was compelled to do for the Air Force in telling people that UFOs weren't real or that there were swamp gas or reflections off the moon or something else. Because he was hired to calm people down, to get people to take their attention off a phenomena that the Air Force couldn't control, didn't have the technology to defend us against it if They wanted to attack this planet. So they classified all of that until they could deal with it. That's why 35 countries did that after World War II here on this planet. When you know this stuff, which everyone's going to know eventually on this planet through full disclosure, full disclosure is being designed to take place here, involving everyone on this earth. Misdirected political leaders make wrong decisions and invest trillions of dollars in the wrong way because they're subconsciously driven by fear. Fear is negative. When they make decisions about the world from fear, it's always the wrong choice. And it'll bite them in the rear end. It'll come back to haunt them. They'll find out what they decided to do doesn't work, so they throw more money at the problem and try to fix it another way. And then they make more mistakes. The world is in a spiral this way. It is because people are making decisions based on fear. Nothing good can come from or ever evolve from decisions based on fear. It is impossible. It's contrary to the basic law of physics, one of them. Every action creates an equal and opposite reaction in space-time. Thoughts and feelings have the same effect upon the one energy that is behind matter. It is what people call divine spirit is a co-creator with us. As individual beings that run bodies, when they know who they are, we can co-create with that energy. What we imagine in it as the spherical being we are, not this, it co-creates and brings into manifestation. It is the one power that does that. We don't do that. We're made as a spherical being of the same energy as the source or prime creator itself. But we have to operate from that level to co-create with it properly. One of the requirements of this source energy is that we know the nature of the multidimensional creation beyond Earth and the life that's in it. It is required. If a person wants to be free, play in the universe, and not be trapped in a body or the illusion of one lifetime, they have to cooperate with that. This is the way many beings outside of Earth do this, and Earth people don't know this yet. We are not going to be able to go in space as a planet of people, fighting over resources and religious ideologies and political differences and greed and fear and tyrant natures. We're not going to be able to go out into space ever and play among the stars with those races that are out there the way we are on this planet right now, because they won't allow it. Period. So they can launch a rocket and they can go to the moon and put a base there, but there's already an alien base on the other side anyway. The point is, space is already occupied by far more advanced races than we are. And they're not going to tolerate us bringing that kind of mindless nonsense and fear and destructive nature out there. So what people think is we're going to have a future like Star Trek, the way it's portrayed, we will not. Because what's out there isn't like that. For us to play among the stars and get the technology which works with zero-point energy, toroidal energy, or the energy of the universe, or Holy Spirit, whatever they want to call it, quantums, like little beings in a great quantum, as quantum physicists refer to it, then we have to be able to cooperate with that energy that is non-nuclear and non-atomic in nature. And that's mostly energy in creation. Little things like galaxies float in it. And it is a living force, just like us. If we want to play in that, then we have to learn how to function with it. If we want to go across the stars far beyond the speed of light, then we have to lose the limiting self-made concept that light speed has a limited speed, which it doesn't. That's just the perception of human beings using their eyes to detect it. It goes faster and faster. It goes into infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays. It never ends. And it moves through all the multidimensional universe and supports everything. Individual beings like us running these bodies are not like this in the image of God. They got that all wrong on Earth completely. We are spherical, made of an energy that's non-nuclear, what people call soul, what more advanced races call atma. It has a structure, it has levels and dimensionality, but it's not made of matter or DNA or atoms. It's made of the same energy as the universal energy itself. What she's showing you here is what you really look like. Not the brain, not the body, not the DNA of one lifetime. This. And this is what the source or prime creator energy looks like too, but it's much bigger. Consider that we're like this as a teardrop in an ocean of this energy. That is what we really look like as an image of the source, not a man or a woman. This. Have you ever asked yourself why planets and moons and suns and stars are round? Why? Why is a galaxy made up of round things that spin around a nucleus that creates a interdimensional doorway between different dimensions? It's like a concentric generator. Energy comes from a higher reality, generates out through the galaxy, goes out into space, and maintains things this way. They are doorways. That is what we look like. This is original. It's on the face of the Emerald Doorway book for the first time in any world, and it looks like that. And it's on this book for a reason, because it's there to remind people what they were made to forget all about before they were born here, deliberately. They can recover this, but not if they think they're one of these. That's just something one of these runs. And it runs more than one body on one plane at one time. Each person, individual, does this, but they've forgotten this. So if you want to co-create with the source and be free in the universe, this has to be awoken in the individual. It's required. So we go to something like this book. This is the planet Saturn in our solar system. These are the big chunks of ice that make up the ice rings that circle the planet Saturn. That's water, frozen. This is a galactic emerald star cruiser over a mile long, cylindrical, tic-tac shaped like. Bridge control room here, one on the other end. It's designed to go through interdimensional doorways. That's why it's shaped like this. These are disc-shaped craft with 3 semispheric pods with an antigravitic field around, antigravitic, same as this. They enter the launch bay of this ship by changing their molecular time rate, their electromagnetic field a little higher, and they pass right through the metal hull, lower their time rate as a solid ship and land. There's no open launch bays in this vehicle. This book is about what's taking place out among the stars that has never happened before, that has the great potential and is underway to transform Earth without allowing it to be destroyed. This is important. So we will leave that aside. When we go on a journey, we try to do, Perry and I try to do this, I will guide a little journey, but not just me alone. There are many other beings that work with me. The first thing we do is get people on one of these journeys outside Earth's atmosphere. Why? Because Earth's atmosphere, the one we breathe, also contains the frequencies of everything that was ever done to anyone by anyone on Earth since its beginning. They've never left the atmosphere of this planet. Rome, throwing people to lions. Aztec, cutting people's hearts out. Mayan. Samaria was a reptilian mining colony. All these things that happen here are still, when someone does them, they put a vibration out. Imagination that's destructive and negative, or emotion puts a frequency out, a microvoltage. It goes out from your body. It bounces off the ionosphere just like a radio wave, which is how you can send a radio wave around the curvature of the planet. Bounces off the ionosphere. Everything's still in this atmosphere. So there's a lot of negative things in this atmosphere. Good things too, but more negative from things that people have done to each other on this planet. So we get outside the atmosphere into that pure energy of space, what people call the void, which scientists that are advanced on Earth know it's not a void at all, and it's not dark matter. It's just they can't see it with physical eyes. But it's packed full of energy everywhere. And that's the energy we have to contend with if we want to play with others who get around galaxies, because they would share that technology with us free of charge. Cures for disease, turning on all the shut down genomes on the DNA that's shut down on everyone on Earth to some degree. Getting those all fixed is easy for them. This is ancient technology. Anti-gravitic technology is ancient technology out there. Traveling through interdimensional doorways, ancient. Colonizing worlds, hundreds of millions of them, trillions of people, piece of cake, ancient technology. They could provide this to the people of this planet, but it has to come about when people are risen enough in vibration to have enough courage to step beyond their own subconscious fears to at least ask them to come here. And this is being worked on privately with political leaders and religious leaders and everybody right now. When they're out of their bodies at night and their bodies are asleep in the trance state we call sleep, they are more open as beings, not bodies. Their fears are shut down with the body that goes to sleep, and they're more capable of being reached by advanced beings to help them get over their terror of remembering who they are. And they come back to Earth the next morning slightly changed. So this is how this is being done. Disclosure cannot be done on a frontal basis. You can't have 10,000 ships come and land here the way people are. Heck, they hoard toilet paper and paper towels when they're afraid of COVID. What's going to happen if extraterrestrials show up? They've been programmed to think it's going to be tyrants. They're going to react with fear and get their guns out. It's not going to work that way. Beings from other worlds aren't stupid. They know better. They're not going to come here and get caught up in that nonsense. Why would they? They don't have to. So they got to get us to step forward instead. This kind of thing was offered to presidents of the United States 50 years ago, and they turned it down out of fear. This is a problem for people on this planet. So we start these journeys outside of Earth's atmosphere, because you can't bring anything of any negative nature or emotion out in space. An astronaut in a tin can floating above the Earth cannot send that out into that energy we call the void, because it can't be stored there. It just stays with them. It cannot go into that energy. So we get into that energy, and telepathically we connect to it. Telepathy, no, I don't care how it's written in the dictionary. It is not part of psychic nature or abilities. They work with the dual current that rides through the 4 lower dimensions, 5 lower dimensions of time-space. Positive and negative. One day it's up, the next day it's down. One day it's right, the next day it's wrong. It moves like a wave. The pure hue, the first half of the word human, which opens a door in the pineal gland, the center brain, and connects the being running this body to that one energy. The one they pray to all the time is a co-creator with us. If people knew that and worked it that way, their experiences on Earth would be greatly altered. Because it can only bring to us what we're aware of imagining in it. If you don't remember what the astral plane looks like, if a person doesn't remember what another planet looks like they once lived on before they were born here, they can't go there. Because that information has to go out telepathically into that one energy, and it creates the circumstances and gets us there, free of charge. This is how this really works. So if a person wants to know how to get to the atma plane, which is the first major pure energy division above the void known to certain esoteric groups on this planet, and further up to where they really started out as an atma before they started incarnating in these lower planes, they have to remember how to visualize what that is. Otherwise, this omnipresent thing doesn't co-create getting us there. So my work has a lot to do with helping wake this up in people so they can visually understand what they were terrified to forget long ago, before they were compelled to incarnate here with no memory or very little. This goes back into galactic history, a history they're afraid to remember. What I'm saying here is true, period, across the board, universally through all the planes of time and space and through the planes beyond time and space, because the energy of the upper realities is pure positive. There is no negativity there. There is no good and bad there. There's no suns, no moons, no stars. There are whole realities floating in a void of energy that beings mock up and maintain. But it's quite different than how things work here. You can't actually bring anything of any negative nature across the void into the upper realities. It will not cross that void. That's why the void is there. Part of the enlightening of the lower planes of time and space, where so many individual beings are trapped in the illusion that they are a body, living a life that grows old and then they die and wonder where they go, usually in fear. That is a failed experiment, an ancient, hundreds of billions of years old experiment that is being retired. Something else has been brought into creation in the upper realities to change this without destroying worlds. It changes the way they're run. There are beings in the universe who people on Earth know nothing about virtually. In fact, on many worlds they don't know about them, but they're starting to, and they're called silent mentors. They are a type of being that maintains and runs galaxies spinning on their axis, moons going around planets, planets going around suns, all the different galaxies, all the different dimensions, all the doorways between the dimensions. They maintain that. And they've had very little to no interaction with human beings like us or master teachers who are human beings. Until recently, they had no connection with us. And now they're beginning to. This is very important. One of the things that I've shared with people, many people in esoteric groups on Earth know that this planet has what's called an Iron Age to a Golden Age, and then back again. We're in an Iron Age right now. Things are most negative. In a Golden Age, where it goes to next, which usually means destruction of most of the stuff on the world to get there, it goes back to a time when there's pure positive energy on Earth and people aren't negative, kind of a paradise. And then it goes into a Copper Age, it's more negative, then a Silver Age, even more negative, and then an Iron Age. That's because for this planet, its poles would flip 180 degrees every 100,000 years, and we have an Ice Age. A violent affair that happens overnight, not over a long period of time. And it destroys continents and mountains and counterbalances, and new continents and mountains rise up from the seafloor. It's very violent. Earth is the only planet I know of that's had this problem. It was created in part by the destruction of a world between Mars and Jupiter that is now an asteroid field circling in the orbit of a planet that was blown up a long time ago. It ruined the atmosphere of Mars. It did a lot of things. This is our solar system history, and people on Earth have no idea this is in their past. But they're capable of recovering awareness of it when they get over the fear to recover it. Fear is a block to remembering. So we go on these journeys and get outside the atmosphere of Earth by getting the bodies to go into sleep state, just like you put it in every night. But you remain conscious, listening to my voice and going on a journey, because people have the ability. Heck, they leave their body every night without knowing it. Everyone does. If you take negative energy out of your body when you go to sleep, say you're a terrorist or you're some radical religious person thinks everybody should be killed that doesn't believe your way. Whether it's Christianity or Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist or whatever it is, they all have their little biases and prejudices about things. And they seem to be at odds with each other because they want everybody to kind of think like they do, which is wrong, because that has nothing to do whatsoever with what's outside of this planet. None of the religions represented on this planet, esoteric groups, organizations, spiritual groups, anything represented here, actually established by governments or through nonprofit organizations, they do not exist whatsoever on other worlds outside of Earth. Not one of them is represented on another world. Which means the greater God people are praying to is a much bigger thing to comprehend and embrace. And to do it, we have to learn how to respect all life. Not just on Earth, all life in the multidimensional creation where the greater God is. If people can't do that, they're going to be stuck running in little bodies, life after life, with a tiny consciousness thinking they're the center of the universe. God's chosen favorites. This is not true. All atmas that run bodies are chosen favorites because they cannot be destroyed. They're not matter. They're an energy that cannot be annihilated. You can put an energy field around an atma, we call it the subconscious mind, through which it sees the universe through distorted images of terror and fear. And it gets them to believe that's reality. If you get those things turned off or get them gone, the person can see as the atma into the multiverse and know things again, because it connects right into that one power that knows everything. Our purpose as beings is to learn how to co-create with it. And it brings manifestations into reality from what we create in it. But we want to do that which is only beneficial and uplifting to all life, because it will do that too. If we imagine negative stuff, it's just going to give us negative stuff. It's a teacher. So it's important that people recover the ability to know things with certainty, which requires working with the hue to go through the pineal gland, go out of the body consciously, and learn how to awaken who they are and start to grow up and co-create with the source. Our destiny as beings is to be co-creators with it. Not co-worshippers, not slaves, co-creators. We are the same thing as it, same energy, same faculties of creation on a smaller scale, like a drop in a mighty ocean of pure energy. When people start to recover this, they're starting to get in what we call God realization and self-realization. Self-realization is awareness of what you are that's spherical, not this. God realization is what you do co-creatively with this big one. And that never ends, how deep we can go into that. So this is important. What I'm doing here is telepathic. You might hear my words, but I'm speaking to all of you telepathically as a spherical atma to you, the atma that's running those bodies, whether you know it or not. The beings I work with, master teachers, are also doing this with me at the same time. When I go into the hue, which I'm about to do, I raise it in tone to connect with all the different planes that you were all made to forget. We set up a doorway in time-space and then beyond time-space, and I work with beings who help do this, help maintain it and keep it a balanced, fixed, focused energy, stable. And then we get out of our bodies, and I describe what we're seeing, at least the basic things that are most important. There are many other things and beings that go on with us on these journeys that I don't describe. We don't have the time to do it. But each of you will see and hear and see other wonderful things more than what I say. What I say is to give you a starting point, a focus point to stand on in eternity, from which to expand from. So we get above the Earth's atmosphere, and then we go on journeys much further without negative influence, because there is usually a man and a woman, or a male and female type of being, very advanced, very evolved. They're not motivated by money or fame or fortune or any of that. They don't live on Earth. They didn't grow up on Earth. They don't have subconscious minds. And they will help each one of you keep all negative subconscious stuff turned off when the body goes to sleep, just like you put it in every night. And then you can go out and actually see and know things without those negative fear things keeping you from seeing. So this is how this works. This is being recorded, and although this won't be live for people who hear it after Perry puts it up on her YouTube channel, it's set up to be effective as if you're there with us. Each one of you, when you go on this journey, if you're sincere, there are beings who will work with you to help this be direct experience for you, just from going through the recording of this journey. Perry, did you have anything you wanted to say or share before we go on the journey?
I just like to share by reading the two books and go on many journeys. Now I have recalled myself far beyond Earth, like who I was before. So I would like to encourage people, to remember to recall who you are.
And let's put out to them too the fact that I don't charge money for guiding people in this way. Not even in private journey sessions I conduct with 10 people around the world right now. The money aspect of it is in the sale of the books through Amazon or Ingram to bookstores or whatever, of course. Because if I didn't work through print-on-demand facilities like that, none of you could ever get these books. So unless I do that, I can't work through Amazon or anybody else. You'll never have opportunity to get them. We don't store them in warehouses and then ship them out when people order them. Nobody does that. No publisher does that anymore because they can print them when they're ordered. They don't need to do that anymore. So the books are required if people want to know more, because they reveal hidden truth that isn't frankly anywhere else on this planet, because it didn't come from this planet. It didn't. I'm not messing around with people here. I don't have any time for that childish nonsense. What I reveal in those books is not from here, and it didn't come from here. So it's not being put out there for fame and fortune and greed or any of that. They're put out there because in the series agenda, there's a special technique section in the back, 50-some pages long, separate from the book, that work with the hue, the first half of the word human, hidden in plain sight, and what it does. It's a sound. It connects you to the first sound behind all creation. That is literally what it does. Doesn't do anything else than that. It can't take you into the astral plane and mix you up with negative things. It cannot take you anywhere negative. People find this out on their own. When they start working with it, it provides a certain protection for those people exploring it. And this is something each person needs to experience for themselves. Then it becomes their knowledge, not mine. So I begin to put this whole round tone out because it sets up a telepathic connection, not psychic. It's a pure communication between beings and the universe or the source of life itself. It cannot be penetrated or perverted by negative things or negative beings or negative technology from satellites or anywhere else. You take my word for it or not, I don't care. These sessions do not get interrupted. Satellites are not interrupted. Black ops don't interfere because they're for their benefit as well. I'll begin these tones now. And this helps those beings who can help each one of you, who do not invade your privacy, who aren't going to read your minds, and they'll be in communication with you telepathically. They do not channel through you. No. No of the most advanced beings I know would never channel through anyone. They don't work through other beings like they're a doorway or a window pane. They communicate with us directly, telepathically, and that is a form of like a holographic communication where you see clearly sight, taste, touch, sound, smell, texture, motion, dimension in the communication. So the communications cannot be misunderstood like words can. It is not psychic. It doesn't float on the twin energies of positive and negative, okay? It is behind all that. So I will begin those tones. It continues beyond the range of what vocal cords can do. And I hear it going into the other dimensions, the other realities, making a pure connection through the one first sound behind creation. And it connects with beings who are very advanced, master teachers of the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, which is an organization centered near the galactic core of this galaxy. It is massive. 450, I think there's over 500 million spacefaring worlds involved in that organization now. And these are planets that exist on 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe. Their technology and craft can move between them, not just between planets in a galaxy you see in an astronomical or radio telescope device. Is the universe multidimensional in characteristic and nature? Yes, it is. We must know on Earth the nature of that multidimensional characteristics in order to traverse it, or we cannot do it. There are beings out there that keep us locked into this solar system now, because we can't take our petty squabbles like they are on Earth today out among the stars and try to put a Chinese or a Russian or American flag on other people's property to bilk its resources, because they will never tolerate it in the first place. We are not be prevented from going to the stars. This culture on this planet is capable of making a giant leap in this regard, but to do it, we are going to have to be humble enough and respectful of ourselves and all life enough out there to request their assistance, and they'll give it freely. This is the way this works. When you daydream, everybody knows how to do that. They're not taught what it is they're doing growing up on this world, because no teacher I know of knows how to teach it properly. They aren't taught it themselves. You got two types of scientists on this planet. PhDs with no classification, academician, teachers, and you've got PhD scientists which are classified to varying degrees, who know extraterrestrials exist because they work with their technology, and in some cases directly with them right now. One of the biggest things beings on Earth have had to confront, who are classified, who know about this stuff, what they've had to contend with is the fact that those beings they're meeting are not going to tolerate us going out and playing amongst them the way we are. People on Earth are the threat, not from outside the Earth. The few tyrants that came to this Earth breaking an off-world treaty, Greys and reptilians and all that kind of thing, have been removed from this planet. Not by our military, not by anybody on Earth. They weren't harmed, but they were sent away. The negative effects such beings had on certain political leaders and elsewhere remains with us. And that has to be neutralized. There have been no new cases of little grays abducting people in decades. A lot of people in the UFO and disclosure communities don't yet realize this fact. So they keep talking about the stuff that happened long ago. We're very fortunate because we're not alone in creation, or the people on this planet who tried many times would have annihilated this world in nuclear war. This is a fact. Part of the deepest secret of disclosure is that launch computers here in the former Soviet Union were shut down when they attempted nuclear war. Not by us. There is a limit to what people from other worlds will tolerate. Blowing up this planet is not one. So if you ask me if I'm afraid of the present or future about aliens, I would have to tell you the truth. No, I am not. If you ask me I'm afraid of nuclear war, I would tell you no. Because of what I know and who I know. There are classified people on this planet that know we're not going to be allowed to do that either. They're just afraid of how to tell the people this at this point. They're being helped to gradually make this disclosure a reality. And this is going to have to involve all the countries of this planet, whether its leaders like it or not. When you daydream, you're in a classroom, let's say, as an example. You're listening to a teacher who's boring you, and you're just not into it. So you're listening, but you're looking out the windows at the parking lot at your school, or wherever you're in this workplace. And you imagine being on that ski trip, or in Hawaii, or on a black sandy beach somewhere, or on another planet. This is called daydreaming. What people, all of you, need to understand or recover, because you once knew it, is that daydreaming is not done from the brain in your skull in the physical human body. The brain is not capable of imagining anything. That's not what it's designed to do. That multi-billion neuron circuited center is complex enough to run the complexities of a human body. Coordination, eyesight, depth perception, hearing, taste, smell, motivation, coordination, all these different things. But the imagination, when people daydream, is being done from the real spherical energy, atma or soul that they are, usually hovering above that body, running it without being aware of this fact anymore. So on Earth, they're never going to find some secret to psychology or psychiatry dealing with the brain, because the answers are not in the brain. If a person has a chemical imbalance, they can adjust that. But imagination, even thought, the mind is not in the brain. When you imagine being near the ceiling, which I ask you to do now, you're going to find that your eyes should close. You're just putting your body to sleep like a master, like you all know how to do anyway every single night. Except you're hearing my voice. It's a telepathic connection. And so that body goes to sleep. It breathes, blood circulates, lungs work. When you close your eyes, you are shutting off that brain to have any connection to outside light coming in. When you do that, another door begins to open in the pineal gland in the center of the brain. When we start to hew, it begins to open a door wider in the pineal gland, so that you, the real you, hovering above it near the ceiling, looking down on this body, can bring information like this and awareness like this to a brain and body that never learned it growing up on this planet from anyone. I want you to imagine now, this is daydreaming again, that you are in the atmosphere at 10,000 feet, looking down. You're lighting up the space around you. It could be day or night, it wouldn't matter. You can see all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy right through the atmosphere, whether the sun's out or not, or whether it's nighttime, because you light it up from the light coming from the spherical center, which is a white luminous core in the spherical being that you really are. And you can look down through the roof of your house or where you live and see you, a duplicate of you, hovering near the ceiling, looking at that body at the same moment. And you can imagine being in space, far above the atmosphere of the planet, looking down, lighting up space around you as one spherical being, and you can see the polar ice caps of Earth. You can see the beautiful oceans, the land masses. You can see the barren moon with meteor craters all over it, no atmosphere to speak of, very little gravity, moving around the Earth without turning on its axis. It's always showing the same face to people on Earth. The back side of the moon, which they call the dark side, is not dark all the time because it passes in front of the sun and then it's daylight there. Then it passes to the back side of the planet and it's dark there. When it's partially light on the front side of the moon, where we see quarter moons and half moons and full moons and all that. If you want to put a base of operations in a classified space program on the moon so no one on Earth can know it's there, you just put it on the other side. Common sense here, folks. The astronauts in the Apollo program that went to the moon originally were told by the CIA, classified, not to talk about what they saw, because several of them, before they died, spoke about the fact that they saw extraterrestrials waiting there on the moon observing them. Reasonable grounds to shut it up and classify all of it. How is the U.S. or other militaries to convince a populace on Earth that that's safe, what those beings are, when they don't have much of an association with them and don't know their intent? Figure it out. The governments of this world collectively decided to classify all that in a classified system to do two things: to investigate who they are, reverse engineer alien technology, and try to get up to speed to defend ourselves should any of them be hostile. And they wanted people to feel safe and be baby boomers and rebuild a destroyed world after World War II. This is why they did it. The motivation was okay, but they've carried it on for far too long, and it's become a negative, bad habit. It's wasting trillions of dollars every year worldwide trying to keep it covered up, and it's not going to stay covered up anyway. You are in space. Experience yourself being in the void of space. When you look at a Hubble telescope image of outer space, you see all this black area out there, and planets and moons and galaxies floating in it, right? But that's not actually what's out there. Human eyes can only detect a very small band of light frequency from, say, A to here. The visual perspective of what the energy is in space, this zero-point toroidal energy, the energy of the universe, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing, can only be seen by the real being, the atma. And then it's a white golden light everywhere. More advanced scientists on Earth understand this now. They don't really understand what to do with it, but they know that it is an energy, that it's powerful, that it is not nuclear, there are no atoms in it, it's finer than nuclear material, and it's behind everything. So we are now, as atmas, made of that same energy, floating in it, just like planets and galaxies do. And we are in a circle as beings, whoever's on this journey with Perry and myself. And in the center is standing a very dear friend of mine, His name is Ambassador Turalyon. He is a member of the Serays. Thus the title, The Serays Agenda on the book. He is showing all of us standing in the center of the beings who are in a circle around him in space above planet Earth, looking at the polar ice caps and the moon and the sun in the distance and billions of stars around us that make up the Milky Way. Some of them are massive blue ones. Some of them are yellow suns like our sun. Some are red dwarfs or giant red stars. All over the universe, they have these three distinct colors. And you can see in this space between us that there is a finer golden white light between everyone here, Turalyon and each of us, the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, the stars, and the space between galaxies and on upward in the multiverse. And it has a sound out here that you can hear. This first visible light has a corresponding sound. In the physical universe involving 144 parallel dimensions, it sounds like roaring thunder under your feet. But it's not threatening. There's no lightning and booming explosions. It's just the continuous warm rumble of thunder. And it's pleasing. It's not threatening. It is the sound this light makes. Human ears cannot hear it. But when you're trained properly, you can hear it on Earth with your eyes and ears open as if you were hearing it and seeing it with your eyes and ears, but you're not. It's the atma hovering above the body running that's hearing that, passing that information to the physical form through the pineal gland, the center of the brain, to the perceptive mechanisms of eyes and ears. This is how this really works. In space, Turalyon is showing you a body made of energy that looks purely human, 18 feet tall. Slightly pointed ears, slightly wavy long blonde hair to his shoulders, big blue eyes, luminous, trim, gown-like clothing, bare feet, holding his two hands out with a golden ball of light around each with a thumbs up. And what he's doing is he's channeling not a being, but an energy from the plane that exists above the void, many planes up from here, bringing a higher energy here, putting it out in space around us to create a safe space for us to make these journeys. There is no negative nature, being, or technology that can penetrate this field, period. There just isn't. And he's showing you a form that over 1 billion years ago, his entire race immortalized these forms in a very special way. They dematerialized the atomic structure, the DNA pattern, stored it in one of the teardrop shapes of lights that are in different concentric layers that make up the spherical nature of their being. The omnipresent energy, this one power, this hue, this toroidal, this 0 point, the energy of the universe out here, he can draw on that energy, manifest it around the DNA, and show you a body, what it looked like over 1 billion years ago. He does not have the encumbrance of running a physical body around like we do. He mocks it up when he needs it, dissolves it when he doesn't. Most of the beings in the Milky Way galaxy that are spacefaring, whether they're mantis or reptilian or gray, human, humanoid, Dren, or any other numbers of races that have atmas running higher genetically evolved body forms, originally got DNA from the human Serays race. They were very advanced genetic scientists of a kind. They were not tyrants. They helped develop races to spacefaring capability and disappeared in the background, who knows where, for a long period of time to see what we would do with it. The results are not pretty. They've recently announced their return because they've gone through a change that makes them more motivated to be responsible for helping guide younger races away from self-destruction and into a transformation. That's why he's here now. When you look at yourself as a spherical being hovering up here in space in your imagination, You see a body form a little bit below and in front of you, standing in space with bare feet, clothed, but except it looks just like you, except it's perfect. Perfect form, strength, youth, all about 36 as young adults. Perfect eyes, perfect faculties, healthy, trim, radiant. This is an energy form that looks like your physical body on Earth that you present to others so they see who you are other than a sphere of light. It is not a physical body. When you look at Turalyon, he's doing the very same thing for you, for your benefit. There are other master teachers from beyond Earth that work with me here to assist beings who go on these journeys, to help wake them up, to help them remember what they're afraid, terrorized to recall. One man's name is Master Ramu. He is about 6 feet tall, swarthy skin, dark skin, black curly hair and short cropped beard, maroon robe, and he holds a 6 foot tall quartz crystal-like staff tube in his right hand. And atop it is what in Egyptian ancient history is called the Ankh. It's like a cross with an oval circle with an oval hole in it atop it. And it is a device, it is his symbol that he carries with him, and it does certain things. There is another teacher from another world called Oceania named Master Opelum, and he is from a world in the third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. Remember, there are 144 of them. They have the most advanced crystalline-based science in the universe. Opelum is showing you a body form about 6 feet tall, little bit of gray on the sideburns, long black shiny hair to his shoulders, big green eyes, slightly pointed ears, pale blue skin. Because they are not from Earth, but they are human. And he lifts his neck and you can see little gills, 3 little gill slits under his neck and little webs between his fingers. He has the same Ceres DNA as you do, except on his mostly water-covered world, they evolved with the ability to breathe underwater or on land. He's showing you a body that he has on that planet that is more than 500,000 years old, unaged. That's a different type of immortalization of the genetic structure of a human body. And if you look above him, you're going to see a beautiful spherical atma hovering there, which is the true being that he is. There is a friend named Etta. He is a Dren. He's 3 foot long from the tip of his nose to the root of his tail. He is in the Emerald Doorway book. Over 30 illustrations of key characters, well defined. And certain scenes are in that book to assist people to recover what they've been made to forget in their past. And his tail, from the root to the tip, grows like gem-grade crystal opal in bright sunlight. He is a silica DNA-based creature, not carbon like humans. He is a master teacher. He's courageous to a fault. He's funny. He has a wife and 2 almost grown Dren children. He has 2 hind legs and 4 arms, strong and muscular, with individual fingers and toes like a human. A long snout that looks like he's smiling about something when his mouth is closed, and 2 big blue bulbous eyes. Dark blue. Pale green skin, not slimy like a salamander, and he's not a lizard, he's not a reptilian. He has vocal cords, he has a photographic memory, and he can levitate or fly through the air as an organic being because he's silica-based. And he is here, but he's not human. Beside him is his more feminine-looking Dren wife. This is the type of beings for one little area that people on Earth need to become aware of and be respectful of if they intend to play among the stars and if they intend to become free beings again, free from negative influences of the subconscious mind. This is why we get above the planet, where we can be with beings who are non-threatening, who are kind and very masterful, very advanced, and learn how to not be afraid of life beyond Earth. We do this by direct experience. There is no other way. There are other beings here as well, and they are from an organization called the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, in English, as it's titled, near the galactic core of this galaxy, not in the center, near it. The planet is 4 times bigger than Earth. It's called Zentrunami 1. It has 3 moons the size of Earth. None of them have polar ice caps, and those planets circle what's called a trinary star system. It means there's a big blue giant star, a yellow sun like ours at a further distance, and a red dwarf further out, and the planets circle around all 3. This sets up different gravitational parameters for a larger planet than Earth, and doesn't require the same parameters as Earth does in its position around our sun. There are 5,000 members who represent over 500 million spacefaring races in a little under 1/2 of our galaxy that are part of this organization. And they meet in a huge white dome on that planet, which is where Turalyon first appeared from his race after over 1 billion years of being vacant. And their consciousness was quickly changed for the better. The Sayres had recently gone through a transformation prior to that motivated them to get involved here again, or Earth's people would all be gone now. So he's here in space to serve in a beneficial way so that we can go on a journey beyond this planet. This is just the beginning. You are imagining, from the atma you are, with your body asleep back on Earth, being in space safely in a golden white light around Turalyon and these other master teachers I mentioned. And then there's several thousand in concentric circular rows of radiant beings, men and women, showing you their forms, about 36, and the spherical being hovering above them, who are from the 5,000 member of the Galactic Alliance. And these are master teachers now. And they're going on a journey with us for our benefit and theirs beyond the solar system where we live. The first place we're going, because this is a radio show for the public in general, is to a spacecraft that is hovering stationary in the ice rings that circle the planet Saturn in our solar system right now. It is not in the future, it's not in the past. It is permanently stationed there for a reason, for now. For perspective, Toroidyon's going to point his thumbs with this bright, wider golden light around him than the energy around us. He's going to point out in space past the moon, and he's going to open a vortex, and it looks like a very large funnel. And it's whirling clockwise, and it looks like blue-green water, luminous. And there's a narrow passageway in the center in the distance, and it opens up wider on the other end. And way through it, you can see the planet Saturn with its rings and its moons hovering in space on the other end of this doorway. The group of beings that surround us form a kind of sphere of beings around Turalyon and us, and it begins to move in the direction of the opening of this vortex. You can hear the rumbling of thunder. You can see the brightness of the light increasing. And then we're shot into it, and once we're entering it, we appear in perspective like the size of a dime to a dinner plate. And then we're shot at faster than the speed of light through this opening, and we come out the other side, look behind us, and the vortex vanishes. We don't see Earth. And we are hovering above the 1.5 miles or so width of these huge chunks of frozen water ice that make up the rings that circle the planet Saturn in our solar system. And we're looking down near the upper outer edge, at a mile-long cylindrical spaceship that is an anti-gravitic or field of energy around it, and it's hovering inside the ice rings, protected from banging into them from this field of energy around it. And when you get down near it in the ice rings, all of us together as a group, because we are atmas, can move right through the ice rings without any problem. We are not physical bodies, we are energy. And we can see the front end of this craft has a curved bridge control window area, and we go to the other end of the craft a mile towards the planet, and there's another identical bridge control window section there. It's a long cylindrical tic-tac-like thing with a slightly flattened top, curved round front and rear end, and it has a blue thin electromagnetic field around it. And you can see disc-shaped ships 30 feet wide with 3 semi-spheric half-pods on the bottom end, almost a cobalt blue glass-like top. And they have a thin anti-gravitic light around them, and they're moving towards the central hull. There's a dozen of them, one at a time, moving towards the central hull of this ship. And as they approach it, they brighten and they begin to become transparent. They move through the metallic hull. You can see an opening in the hull. And they go on the inside of this football-sized hangar bay, lower their vibration, and they're solid, and they land near craft parked in 2 parallel rows to the left side of that huge hangar bay, one by one. And as the ship passes inside, the metal hull appears solid again. We're going to go to the front bridge control area near the upper outer end of the ice rings that circle Saturn. And we're going to move about a third of the way down the middle of the circumference of the craft towards the right side. And you can see that there are oval observation windows that are 6 foot horizontal, 3 foot high, that line the entire circumference of this craft behind the bridge control windows. And we're going to move inside the center section of this craft. We're going to pass right through it as a sphere of beings. And then you're going to find yourself standing on a plush blue carpet in a vast chamber just inside those observation windows, 60 feet high and very, very long. And there are blue glass-topped oval tables with egg-shaped white chairs with blue cushions and people sitting in them. And some are standing near the observation windows, looking at the ice rings of Saturn and its many moons, and looking down at the gas giant itself and out into space at the Milky Way. There are 300 at this point, usually are, of the ship's personnel from different planetary systems stationed here in our solar system right now. Some of them have snake-like skin but no scales, perfectly formed, human, snake-like eyes, no hair. Some have long earlobes, pointed earlobes, green skin, blue skin, golden skin, silver hair like metal, violet hair, golden eyes, red eyes, green eyes, from different world systems. They're all wearing a type of uniform, and on the right chest area is the symbol of a golden pyramid with a quartz cap hovering above the white central nucleus of a galaxy, and 3 blue stars in triangular formation above the apex of the pyramid. And this is a symbol of the galactic interdimensional alliance of free worlds. And you're going to find your feet. You look down and see your feet wiggling in this plush blue carpet that's vibrating, and it feels good to your feet. The air is pure. Turalyon is standing behind us, 18 feet tall, with his thumbs up, with this energy around it. These beings on this ship can see you. They can see the energy form that looks just like you standing there. And if you look at these 300 people and the ship's commanders who are standing up from one of the oval glass tables from 2 egg-shaped blue cushioned chairs, a man and a woman, you see that there's a spherical atma hovering above all of them, and that's who we're really in communication with. The body forms are the ones they actually have as physical bodies on that ship from different worlds. They know who they are. That is not a physical body. This is so it can assist you to remember this as well. All of you on this journey are going to find that a couple of very pleasant male and female beings, part of the Galactic Alliance crew, will come up to you and greet you with a hand over their chest and slightly nod their head. It would be wise if you did this in return. It is a sign of mutual respect. They know the trouble you're in on Earth, not remembering things and being afraid of so much. They have the technology on this ship to free people from subconscious minds altogether. When the time is right, when a person's prepared to confront it and be responsible for the awareness they will have when they get free of this stuff, then they are there to help. All of you on this journey should ask something of this couple about going through a process with them when you're out of your body at night, right now, to be free of fear and terror that is subconsciously influencing your decision making on Earth. If you don't ask the question or make the request, it will not happen. It's your choice. The hue that brought us here has no negative nature in it whatsoever. It is pure energy. It is toroidal. It is the 0 point. It is the energy of the universe. It's actually Holy Spirit people call on Earth without even knowing what it is or how to properly create with it. We are meant to imagine in it properly what it will co-create and bring into existence as the one power that does this, because we do not. Here on this ship amongst friends from very, very far away world systems, this ship is stationed here, and the scout craft that patrol the solar system are now patrolling it to keep any other type of tyrant alien outside the solar system permanently. One of the other things that happened with polar shifts of Earth was recently permanently stopped for this planet. It wasn't done by people on Earth or our scientists. It was done by those beings who run the mechanics of creation, because for the first time they were motivated to do it. Some years ago, 4 or 5, the Earth's poles was tipping. This was in the news, drastically leaning over, and then suddenly they flipped back to where they were in 1500. This is not a coincidence. It's not by accident. The polar flips of this planet have been permanently stopped, so the planet has the opportunity now for the first time to evolve and become a member of a huge number of world systems, to become a spacefaring world. We cannot take the negative nature of fear we now carry out into space among the stars, because those beings will not tolerate it. We do not and have never had the right, as 7 billion people on one little planet, to blow ourselves up in nuclear radiation that would harm hundreds of billions of beings in parallel dimensions on Earth that are in a slightly higher vibratory field. We don't have the right to affect space. We don't have the right to do that to the rest of the universe, and they know it, and they are not going to allow us to do it, fortunately for us. I share this with you out here where truth cannot be denied. You come back to Earth, you have the doubts and fears you choose to focus on, but you can choose not to focus on them anymore as well. This is about choosing of free will, awakened free will, to not imagine negative things about the present or the future of your life or planet Earth. Because if you do, you are adding to the problem, not to the solution. On other journeys, we've gone way beyond the lower planes of time and space, across the void into the upper realities. But this one is focused near Earth in our solar system on a Galactic Alliance craft called an Emerald Star Cruiser. Larger ones are 10 miles long. People have seen these tic-tac type craft going around Earth or underwater all the time. They've even tried to fire at them, and yet none have ever retaliated, because if they did, there would be no Earth. That's how misdirected people on Earth, in fear, to fire on something they don't understand, that consistently shows them they don't fire back. You'd think people on Earth would learn something from this by now. This disclosure is not going to go away. It is penetrating deeper and unfolding on this planet, and it cannot be reversed. To feel what we call and experience serenity of being, this is a state of consciousness that does not work with negative emotions or imagination whatsoever, by choice. And the energy of the hue fills one in such a way as it moves through you for the benefit of all life, including your own, so that you're set free from fear and terror that your fellows go through on this planet. Eventually, this will occur for every being on Earth. And then Earth will have a different destiny that it now understands. And then you find yourself circling around Turalyon. 2,000 of the Galactic Alliance members here still, in 2 spheres around us, spherical beings, making up spheres. Ramu, Mapelam, Etta, his wife Din, these men and women from the Galactic Alliance that have assisted you to keep your fears turned off while you're on this journey. And Turalyon points to the world. And the world, as you see it, changes up in vibration to a higher parallel dimension, the third one, and you see a planet, Earth, in the same place. It has no polar ice caps. The moon is covered with an oxygen atmosphere. No polar ice caps. There are domed cities on its surface, and rain and clouds and rivers. And it's turning on its axis as it revolves around the Earth. The Earth is covered in oceans. There is a huge continent centered over the equator from the left to the right horizon, or hemisphere. And you can see through the planet and see there's a continent 2/3 its size centered over the equator on the other side. And there's the yellow sun in the distance. The continent that is huge, centered over the equator, goes almost to 1/3 of the way below the North Pole, comes down to the eastern hemisphere, goes down towards the South Pole about 1/3 of the way up it, and then it extends over to the western hemisphere. And down at the bottom point, 1/3 of the way up from the southern pole, is a curved, half-moon base-shaped, luminous green beach you can see from space. Turalyon points there, and suddenly you find yourself looking down at your feet, wiggling in smooth, warm, and cooling, emerald green glowing sand. And you look up and you can see there's this huge, couple of mile-long curved beach, a blue-green luminous ocean behind us, tropical forest out in front, and Turalyon standing up to his knees in ocean water, smiling with his 2 thumbs up, and the spherical being he is hovering above the form he's showing you. And you look and see that you have a body that's perfectly healthy, about 36, wiggling its toes in this emerald green sand. And the energy moves up your legs, up through the top of your head, lifts your head up, smiling. It goes into the white core of your being, the spherical you hovering there, and goes out to a layer that surrounds it into a green area, and lights certain teardrops up. These are faculties that have been dormant or turned off or forgotten. The green energy is about recalling lives and experiences lived in the lower dimensions of time and space, not just on Earth. Inland, you can see at the back of this curves back there, a straight moss-covered path, brown. It goes back about a mile or 2 to a white marble floor, and there's a statue of a woman standing up in the center of it. That brown path goes up through the forest, goes up to the base of a mountain, a single snow-capped mountain, glacier covered to the right, and comes up this to a lower plateau where there's a huge clear dome city nestled at the base on the left side. There are 3 golden-sided, 4-sided quartz-capped pyramids in the left background. Those are laboratories. There's a blue-green oval lake. There's a countryside, 2/3 of this dome, with little ivory-colored domes and little white marble walkways between them. In the back hemisphere of the dome is a small miniature mountain range with snow tops and little waterfalls put there for the athletic pleasure of the people who work there. Up in the mountain you can see 2/3 the way up towards the summit, a waterfall roaring out of a cavern opening, dropping thousands of feet down a sheer cliff wall and disappearing in a blue-green forest that curves around the forest and eventually winds its way out to the ocean where Turalyon is standing. Above this waterfall is an oval tunnel, and there are semi-spherical dome lights on the top of the tunnel that go in the mountain and wind down inside it. It comes out into a hollowed-out interior of a mountain in Northern California called Mount Shasta. And it is an extraterrestrial galactic alliance base built there in 1908. The 2 mountains are connected, but they are in different parallel dimensions. The beings who work in that dome are master teachers like Opelum from Oceania, Master Ramu, the Drens, Ambassador Turalyon of the Say-Rays and other Say-Rays work there. And they have built this place in a protected environment, and no negative nature or pollution is here. Galactic Alliance personnel work there and come there in ships. The dome has landing circular pads around the front circumference of it. Several disc-shaped craft are landed on it. This has been built to be a prototype for the Earth and the Moon you know of, because one day it will be superimposed over the Earth and Moon you now know, to become a prototype like this world, with a live moon full of an atmosphere turning on its axis, which is the near future destiny of this world, unknown to people on Earth at this time. By bringing you here and helping you to recover awareness of such things, and that travel on such journeys is possible, you bring back to your physical body that's asleep now, you're going to find yourself suddenly hovering above your body near the ceiling where you live on Earth you're familiar with. Of your own free will, you can send a little beam of white golden light from the white core of your being that's spherical down into the center of your skull, into the pineal gland. It's harmless, and it moves out in a widening sphere and creates a toroidal field of energy. This means it's like a gravitational field around the Earth. Energy comes up through your feet, out through the top of your head, and circles around. The being, you, hovering above that body, has a toroidal field around it too. So does the Earth, and so does the galaxy. That is zero-point energy in a certain form. It connects to everything else. It is not nuclear in nature. So you're downloading this experience to a life and personality and brain you grew up on Earth with that has no such experience or training. You're enlightening the body and form and personality you have on Earth. This is how you have to do it. You have to bring enlightenment to it. The energy moves out from your body now in a widening sphere. And it extends out about 2 miles as a kind of protection. And then it goes further. And it connects to 2 of 3 pyramids that have been permanently stationed on this planet. They're a type of device. They can exist. People in the classified community can detect them, but they can't do anything to them or affect them in any way. They are massive, 4-sided golden pyramids with quartz caps, and inside is a type of a fountain. There's a statue of a being in that fountain, bronze-skinned, bald head, about 36, with 2 gold bracelets on his upper arms, with his hands down at his side, palms out, and there is a white golden light pouring from them, filling this bowl, It's dropping down the sides in an evening glistening sheet and disappearing. And it's pulsing out through the walls of these pyramids. Two are on the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans. One is inside a hollowed out interior of a mountain in the Himalayas. They connect to an identical pyramid, but even larger, that is stationed between two stable asteroids in the asteroid field that circles in the orbit of a planet between Mars and Jupiter right now. That connects to even bigger ones that are stationed between stars in our galaxy, and then they're shot upwards. This will help you understand how the hue flows, the 0 point, toroidal energy of the universe. It does not have limits like the speed of light. It is not affected by gravity or time and space, and neither are we. Be kind to yourself. When you're ready, open your eyes on Earth.
Thank you, Scott, for the journey. It's great.
When I'm doing this, I've trained this form to be able to speak and work for your benefit, and mine too. But I'm not here. I'm with you there. I'm still talking to Turalyon out above the planets, out in space. Etta, this little Dren, is a very dear friend of mine, goes back over 100,000 years in galactic history. These beings and my association with them did not come about effortlessly or overnight at the whim of some savior to just dump the stuff on me. No. I had beings help me to recover it gradually. This is what I'm doing on Earth. This is why I'm here, or I'd be gone. I don't need to be on this planet, but as long as I can be of benefit to help make this transition that people don't see coming, that don't know the world is being transformed gradually into a different destiny than the past destructive prophesied destiny, the one they know. That is gone, permanently altered. And our endeavors are to get people on Earth to become aware of this and cooperate with it so they can experience an unexpected uplifting change on this planet. Okay, now I'm kind of back here, and it's okay. Any other questions, Perry?
No.
Okay, then I'm going to end this session and by stopping the recording on my end.
Hold on, Scott.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for watching, and to benefit others, please share this video too. Thank you.
Check out this book. The techniques involving the hue are in here for the prologue, and an individual one for each of the 29 chapters that can help you recover who you are. That's about what's going on in present time out in space. You want to see what you look like? Get this book and you can look at it like a mandala, because that's what you look like as an atma, a soul, not one of these. During this time 100,000 years ago on Earth, before the last polar flip, this captain of the Galactic Alliance on an anti-gravitic disk, this master teacher, Ramu, there's Etta right there hovering, and Melina with blue skin from the planet Oceania. They're looking at this, what's called the Ancient One, which is Prime Creator's source. It's come down through a fifth dimensional doorway above the void to be introduced to these people. He's training them. Right now, not any one of these know one of these exists above their head. Not yet. So that'll help you understand about extraterrestrial involvement. They're all extraterrestrial. But this is above Earth, and there's the continents that have formed after they were destroyed. The poles have flipped. Lemuria is gone. Atlantis is sunk, all but a volcanic island that becomes pertinent 65,000 years later. So this will be very helpful about your extraterrestrial involvement in the past and on other worlds you've been made to forget. And then that kind of links into this, which reveals what's going on and changing out there among the stars to bring about an unexpected change for Earth. It's on the brink of self-destruction, or it's going to become a spacefaring race. Look at it that way. Okay.
Thank you.
So I
So
will
we
say
see you next month,
sayonara,
everyone.
goodbye, das vidanya, and I'll see you all later.
Okay, thank you.